Here we are, Boneyard. Just waiting for Trevor and Mike from Omens to come on. Should be any minute here. We're just had a little bit of a time difference issue here, and unfortunately, we're in the same city, so I'm not sure how it happened. But anyway, no problem at all. We're just gonna wait for them to come on. Hope everyone had a good weekend so far. Went to a show Friday night with the band that's going to be on at 8 o'clock tonight. 5 More Miles. Great band. Hopefully they made it home okay. They gave it their all Friday night, so happy to talk with those guys in a couple hours here. But first, we got Mike and Trevor from Omens. Um, you know, had some success with a band called Jet Set Satellite. Now they have a band called Omens. Pretty hard rock and stuff. Trevor, are you in the chat right now? Not sure what the issue is here, but Trevor is in here and nothing's coming up. Oh, boy. Trevor, do you get anything on your end? Which one we talking about? This one right there? Which one you talking about? This one right here? The Q&A one? I got you there, Trevor. Oh, there we go. Had to do it a different way here. Let's... All right. Can you hear me? You got anything there? Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I got you now.
Okay.
Yeah. I have no clue why it's back feeding like that.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, I end up having to. I went right from my computer, so bear with me 1 second. Let's try.
Mm.
Okay, you still got me?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. There we are. All right. So is it just you, or is Mike coming on too, or?
No, Mike, I was telling Hollywood Mike's not feeling well today, so he told me to take it.
Okay, all good. So how's things?
Things are well, things are busy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry about the delay here. Um, so yeah, why don't we start off? Just tell me about opens.
It started about I guess about 2.5 years ago, I think I want to say. Like part of the catalyst, I guess, was me moving back to Winnipeg. I was living in Toronto for several years and just reconnecting with Mike, who I played with in our previous band, and we just kind of started talking about, what if we tried something, just starting from scratch? What would we want it to be? And do we have time for that in our lives now? Um, and We had been writing off and on over the years, and had done some stuff that we even just kind of put online. So we kind of had a bit of a bedrock to kind of start building from. But we just, with no real commitment, just said, well, let's get together, but like let's try and do it at a regular cadence so that we can really build something. Because kind of getting together and jamming every now and then is not really either of our styles. We like to write songs. And so we get together every second Tuesday. One Tuesday at my place, the next time at his place, and back and forth we'd go, and just started writing on acoustic and on acoustics and just recording stuff on our phones and whatever, and just continually trying to build on it and trading riffs and everything. And um, suddenly, like 3 or 4 songs kind of started to emerge that felt like they had a common thread, and we were like, okay, these feel like core tracks to something. And so we started to try and build around them in terms of what they were and what they weren't, trying to add more variety, trying to feel out the parameters of what this new band or project could be. And that was really the start of it. We built it up until the point where I think we had 10 songs or something. We thought, can't really go on developing these anymore arrangement wise until we bring in a drummer. Just felt like that was the time, and Mike knew somebody. So he brought in this guy, Don Jacks, who's been in the local Winnipeg music scene for years and years, started out super young, and met him and just kind of told him what we thought in terms of, where the band was headed, and kind of give him some expectations and what we were trying to build, and he was on board. And so we brought him in, and then we banged out a couple more songs, and the album was pretty much there, and then we just went out about recording it. So it came together really, really naturally, and planfully, which is something that I don't know we had done in the past when we worked together.
Okay. Where was it recorded at? Like locally here?
Yeah, we kind of invested in some equipment of our own, and Mike had been recording our demos and things like that for, years off and on. And so we just upgraded what we had, and he produced, mixed, and mastered the whole album.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
So with the album itself, obviously, there's not a ballad on there, right? So pretty heavy hitting all the way through. I've been listening to it quite a bit this week. Actually, I think I might have woke the neighbors up today at 7 a.m. out on the deck having a morning coffee, cranking that one up. So,
Yeah.
um, is there any songs that really stand out as maybe a favorite of yours on the album?
It's a tough question. It changes by the week, but I mean, I think the first song and it's track one on the album for that reason maybe is "Divide and Conquer."
Mhm.
I think that those are, it's tricky from a lyricist point of view, to write, what I would call a topical song. I think that's probably one of my best tries at it. Um, but it was also the first piece of music that I'd heard from Mike where he played it, and I was like, it just opened up a door to something that I thought was kind of new. Not that had never been done before, but new for us, right? I mean,
Mhm.
I make no claims that Omens is treading new ground or anything like that. We're not. We wear our influences on our sleeves, but as you said, like there's no ballads. We were very intentful about the kind of album that we wanted to put out, and yeah, just make something that we thought was maybe a little bit missing in the local music scene, maybe missing in Canadian music scene, and something that we could just have fun with too.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this week it might be Divide and Conquer, but I think there's certain core tracks. We released Black Magic first, and made a video for it. That one obviously stuck out as one that we felt, had some legs to it. The song Omens, we love the idea of having a self-titled album and having a song on it called Omens too, just the way Black Sabbath did.
Mhm.
And that was the last song that got written for the album too. So, you kind of thought we were maybe done and kind of pushing for one more, and it ended up being that one. Um, but yeah, I mean, I love them all. That was kind of one of the reasons why we really wanted to do this is we wanted to at last have an album where I think we loved it front to back.
Yeah. One track that really stood out for me actually the last 2 days is "Make It Quick." That one I think it's on repeat right now. So, but great album front to back though, right?
Yeah, I
Um,
mean that was the intent. So thank you. Yeah.
yeah. How about the is it the Indiegogo campaign you guys had going? Care to brief on that?
Yeah, I mean, we had no intention of really exploring putting the album out in a physical sense, just because I didn't think that the interest was really there. Obviously, I'm a huge collector myself. I have a lot of vinyl. I still have a ton of CDs. And so I appreciate physical, tactile representations of music and actively buy them from the bands that I listen to. But just starting from scratch and having no idea, what sort of fan base we might have, it just didn't really cross our minds. And then once we put the album out, people started to ask, is this coming out on LP? Is it coming out on CD? The CD part actually really surprised me, but the LP maybe not so much. But just with LPs, it's really expensive, and we have an hour-long album, so it automatically has to go to two LPs, and like a double gatefold situation. And when we started to look at the cost of that, we were like, yeah, that's a lot to take on right now. So we turned towards crowdfunding, which is not something that we'd ever done before. I've had friends that have done it, and we just decided to see if people would kind of pledge their support of this idea if they really wanted it. Would they pay for it? And so we scratched together an Indiegogo campaign and took a stab at it, and people came to the table, and they put their money where their mouth was, and we were just kind of blown away for an upstart project that we were able to raise as much money as we did, and now that's happening. And so we're kind of just in pre-production on getting the tracks ready for vinyl mastering, and to getting the artwork laid out.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah.
That's great news. And it's also just briefing back on the album, also to have an hour long album in these days too. There's a lot of 5 song EPs coming out. It's great to see a longer effort put forward, right?
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't know how you feel about streaming as a music fan. I find it like it just feels more disposable. Everybody talks about it. I get it. Like I totally get it. I get why the convenience of it and everything like that. there's a lack of quality. You're missing the liner notes. There's something about the immersion into the band's world that I think that you miss not having that tactile media. That's why I've said this before, but I feel like that's why vinyl became a thing. It's the equal and opposite reaction to no tactile media. It's like the largest tactile media possible, right? And so there's obviously a faction of us that are, as music fans, that are really into that. And so I'm pleased as punch that we're able to now, afford to be in that world. Um, but maybe putting out an album that was an hour long was a bit naive of us. I would still really appreciate that album format. Many of my favorite bands operate in that realm, but the trend now is back towards releasing single songs at a time, or like you said, EPs.
Hmm.
And that's essentially to hotwire the algorithm, because I've since learned, and it's been a while since we put out an album, so I was naive to this, but that the algorithm really likes new material and will prioritize single songs at a time. And once your album is effectively released, it just kind of leaves it there. It's like it's dead in the algorithm's eyes, and it's not really. So you have to come up with a way to continually, kind of tease out new material as much as possible. So the way we're doing that is we're going to be releasing some cover songs at a regular cadence to kind of try and draft new streams towards our album, and just keep it fresh for people too. It's fun for us, and we've had several that we wanted to do. So the first one we're just finalizing, but it's a cover of Demon Cleaner by Caius, and we're going to put that out, and I think we're going to do a video for it too. And just I think the plan is that we'd like to release a new cover every 8 weeks or something, for the next little while, and just, yeah, have some fun with it.
Hmm. That's great. So going back to your obviously your previous band, you hear I was listening to the Vegas album recently, and you hear "Together," "Belonging," "Please Capture Me," just great vocal tracks of
Mm,
yours. What have
thanks.
you done to keep your vocals so good still? It seems like you haven't faltered. If not, you've got better, right?
Well, thank you. Yeah, I mean, I've never stopped really singing. I've sung continuously and recorded off and on. It hasn't always been released into the world in a major way, but I've probably written about 3 albums worth of material even since the last Jet Set album, and so that's probably part of it. But another big part of it, actually, for Omens, was when we started to get back into it, and I started to think about playing live shows and started to develop the parts that were suitable for the music that Mike and I were writing. I enlisted the help of an old friend who's I actually met him under completely different auspices, but become a pretty recognized vocal coach and teacher here in Winnipeg. His name's Bruce Moore. And he just worked with me to do what I do, and kind of expand my range and EQ my voice and actually break open my falsetto, which had been gone for years. I don't think I was able to access it for years. Um, and yeah, he's just been a godsend. And I'm continually working with him, and just want to get better and better, because I really haven't had a ton of formal training. Um, and I was doing a lot of things wrong. I developed a ton of bad habits over the years, would regularly blow out my voice doing shows. Um, and that's a very lonely place to be as a singer, when you can't do what it is that you do. It's one thing to work on a song and to record a song and to write the part that you want to sing for it, and that's another thing to do an hour and a half show, and stack up 17 of those songs back to back to back to back, and balance it with the natural adrenaline and over singing that might happen in a live situation, right? When you're trying to perform as well, you're not as poised as you might be concentrating on your breath management like you might be. And so all of that has been, again, a learning curve for me. But I'm one of those people that, I really want to be confident. I really want to enjoy myself doing this. So knowledge is power.
Yeah. You speak of the live show. You got a show coming up August 24th, the Northern Royals EP release party at
Yeah,
the Park Theater, just down the street from myself right now. So,
nice.
what can we expect from a Omens live show?
Well, that's something that we're putting together now. We're imagining it for ourselves. I mean, for the longest time, we didn't really have a full lineup. We just added a bass player. So we do have the full squad now, and we're rehearsing for that show. Being our first, we want it to be good, but we also know it's not going to be perfect because it's our first one. But we're it's going to be a good sampling of what's on the album. We can't play the whole thing because we're in a support slot, which also felt kind of comfortable as the first one out too. Where our friends the Northern Royals, it's a great occasion for them. They're releasing an EP, and they asked us to play a 45-minute set in support, and we were like, that's perfect. It feels like pressure's kind of off. We don't have to do the full headlining set or anything like that, and play our entire album plus a few covers and things like that, and just kind of get our feet wet again. But we're gonna bring it. I mean, we're all concentrated on bringing that album to life in a way that blows people away. I mean, that was the whole point of doing it in the first place. We just wanted to write a really great rock record, and the people that have supported us, it's like we want them to come out and be impressed. So we're getting to the point where we can be impressive.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's a great lineup with the Northern Royals. I was at their last EP release party at the Park Theater, and yeah, they've come a long way, and they're a hard hitting band too. So it's gonna be quite a night there.
Yeah, totally. And the Park Theater is a great venue. I haven't played it since the total renovation and everything like that. So really looking forward to it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Talking about covers, you mentioned Caius. You mentioned the quick clip of Black Sabbath there. Any major influences on you growing up that got you maybe into music?
Oh, tons. And like, people are sometimes surprised by the influences because, they don't necessarily come out in the music. And there might be like little portions that I think are that obviously from that band, but they don't necessarily play that way when they kind of get distilled through the filter of, the four of us or five of us, as it was with Jet Set. But, the Police were an early influence on me. I just thought they were a super cool band. And I think that's still one of the coolest band names ever. um, ZZ Top was a huge influence on me growing up. Geez, I mean, there's just so many. I mean, I have probably my music collection's over 2,000 albums for sure. And, now, a lot of the bands that I listen to would be like, I really like Killing Joke and the Jesus Lizard, which would be bands that, you can't probably detect much of in any of my projects, but they're there. Yeah, and I mean, I love Zeppelin and
Mhm.
Johnny Cash and
Yeah.
stuff like the usual suspects like AC/DC and um, but I was also thrilled when Jet Set first got signed that we were going to be on the same label as Sarah McLachlan at that time, which
Mhm.
might come as a surprise. But I find her album "Fumbling Towards Ecstasy" in particular to be a masterpiece. Um, it runs the gamut. I mean, I listen to a lot of heavy stuff like Red Fang and Mastodon, um, but at the same time as I appreciate that stuff, if I'm being true to myself, we can't really do that. Like it's not really what comes natural. So what you hear in Omens and what you heard in Jet Set, those are different alchemies between different personalities, I suppose. But that's what we can do. Like I don't pretend to be anything that I'm not. With my voice is kind of my voice, and there's a bit of range within it. But I wouldn't ever try to be like a noisy noise rock band like Mets or something from Toronto, even though I love them.
Mhm. Um, what I guess to kind of round things out, what can we expect from Omens moving further? You got you got the streaming out, you got the pre-production coming with the album, with the LP. What's next?
Well, I mean, those covers at a regular cadence for sure, and then we're going to start working on the next album. We've got a bunch of ideas kind of in the hopper, and we'll start, building it in the same way I think we did. Even though we're a full lineup, we'll probably once again, kind of start with me and Mike, just two guitars, and start trading it and then building it because it just worked so well last time. It did feel like a good blueprint moving forward for how to do this thing, and um, yeah, we don't really know. I think there's hints of different directions on the first album that potentially inform other places that we might try to expand this thing. But it's just kind of like you start pushing out the walls and seeing what makes sense within the sound. You had mentioned one of the things about this album is like, slow songs but no ballads. And that was, I don't know if it was intentional, but it was just not somewhere that we necessarily wanted to go. Jet Set kind of covered that off, and I think if I were to look at that discography, if I had any criticisms of it, and I mean I have many. I mean we were young and kind of developing in real time with a lot of that stuff. But we had people kind of level at us that it was a bit schizophrenic at times, right? We had multiple different writers in that band, and we were kind of always game for a good song and trying to finish off, if someone had an idea, no matter what it was, trying to finish it off to the best of our abilities and putting our touches on it. But I don't know if we were as judicious enough about really shaping what would go on the album. Whereas with Omens, I think we're a little bit more like, no, like that doesn't really fit here. Yeah, it might be a good song, but we're keeping the general theme of this in a certain sonic signature. Um, and I don't know if we always did that to the best of what we could with Jet Set. So, some people were along for the ride, but I think some people that might, show up for songs like Vegas and Remover and The Beast would be surprised when we pulled out Please Capture Me or Belonging, right? Like those are from very different worlds. And
Mhm.
there's some bands that can do that really, really well. Like, one that came up from a producer one time, he said, you guys are kind of like the Smashing Pumpkins in that way. Um, but I think they probably balanced it better than we did.
I don't know. Vegas is a pretty solid album, so
Oh, thank you, thank you. It's still to this day, with everything in my life, getting that album out was one of the hardest things I've ever been a part of. So
yeah.
appreciate that.
Well, we appreciate the music. So, um, I guess is there anything else left you got for anyone watching? Anything else you want people to know about Omens? We got the show coming up.
Just, I mean, we're just trying to do something really cool with this band. We have no delusions of grandeur necessarily. We just really want to invite people in. I think we have very realistic expectations. If we were, at the top of our list is to be considered one of the cooler bands in Winnipeg. And if that was all that we accomplished, we'd be very, very happy with that and pleased with that. Um, we're game to win fans over one at a time. And we just really, when we do, we just really want them to feel a part of it. We want them to feel special. Um, we always we joke around on our socials and stuff, like, you know, actively searching for fans, like tell your friends. But yeah, we do hope that people kind of flip, their friends and connections a link to one of our songs or videos or album or whatever, and just try and invite people in. We just want to get stronger and bigger together, and just really want to, yeah, just make something special. We really think highly of the people that obviously take the time to take an interest in what we do. And we do it for ourselves, but it would be nothing if it wasn't for the people who showed up to stream it and to take us in at a show and buy a shirt and whatever. So we're doing it for them.
Yeah, and you mentioned Winnipeg, and Winnipeg has such a good music scene, and it's been good for a long time now. But right now, I feel there's a charge of heavier bands coming out right now.
Hmm.
And when I was asked to take over the Sunday night podcast, being in Winnipeg, that's what I want to showcase is the Winnipeg bands, right?
Yeah,
So I think the first maybe 20 bands that have got emails are all Winnipeg bands, right?
yeah, yeah,
So yeah, it's just such a good scene, and I if you see the schedule that I got coming out, it's Manitoba bands. Right after you, I got Pure Entry, kind of rap rock, and they're doing well, and I'm working on the Northern Rails right now, trying to get them on, trying to get Evan on. So,
I'll put
but
in the good word. I'll put in the good word for you.
yeah, exactly. You know what? He I've known him for a long time. I've known three of them since their first band, the Autopilots. Then they had to change their name to Northern Royals. So I don't know. I'll get them on eventually, but hopefully before the release show. And yeah, I appreciate you coming on and talking to me. It's great. It's kind of my debut Sunday episode at least. So I had the
Oh,
Dust
nice.
Rhinos last week. So, but thrilled that you were on today.
Well, no, thanks a lot for having me, Joel. It's really a pleasure.
Awesome. Okay, I will leave you to it. I'm sure you're busy, and we'll see you at the show on the 24th.
All right. Thanks so much.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, bye-bye. Yep, bye-bye.